And the main purpose of this review is to be as transparent, open, and honest as possible, and for us to take a look at the PMBOK Guide, 7th edition. Okay, this is where I'm going to summarize all the things we have been reviewing for about the past hour plus. And my reviews are very long, but they're very thorough. I don't believe in just throwing out a 20-minute, 10-minute review for what has taken years. And that's why my reviews take so long, because I'm going through everything with a fine-tooth comb. But if you stay with me, you stick with me, you're going to get value at the end of the day. You're going to be able to bounce your own ideas off mine. You're going to see where we agree and where we respectfully disagree. And it's all to help you make up your mind as to what to do with the 7th edition. As a professional, I encourage you to take this seriously. Some of you seem to have forgotten the amount of time and effort you put in. Now, if you forget the amount of time and effort you put in, you will be less inclined to spend time and effort following what the changes in the 7th edition. I encourage you, don't do that. Be a good practitioner. It's your professional responsibility to know what is in the 7th edition and for you to be able to explain it to your organization. Remember, we talk about being a steward in the 7th edition. Well, let me give you their words back. You got to be a steward. With great power comes great responsibility. Many of us, companies spent a ton of money sending you for training, thousands of dollars. Some of you, from your own pocket, spend hundreds and thousands of dollars. So why don't you want to maintain the knowledge that you derived from this? And why don't you want to understand where this needs to taper off and where the 7th can help? You know, the honest truth, what I would say you need to retain from this, retain the process groups, okay? Retain the knowledge areas at that mid to high level view. And then use the 80-20 principle on your own to weed out the most useful aspects that are outputs on page 89. Page 89 just makes it so easy for you to understand what's happened in the 7th edition, because on page 89, we have all the project management plan components, all the project documents. Ask yourself, which of these do I use? Which of these do I not use? Which of these is useful? Which of these is not? Put aside those that you don't need for now. Focus on every project at a time. What do I need for this project? Ask yourself, is Agile a better mousetrap for this project? If it is, then you know your configuration and your thinking is going to be different. And that's why when people say, oh, the 7th edition is Agile, 7th edition is Agile. Does it have some Agile components? Yes. But is it Agile in and of itself? No. I would have liked to see the manifesto somewhere. It's not even in there. Well, at least not in full view. I haven't done an absolute search of the manifesto. Maybe we should do that now. Let's see if it's in here. If there's any mention of the Agile Manifesto, maybe someone just hit it. Let's see. Agile Manifesto, are you here? I don't know. Maybe you folks can help me do a search while we're on here and let me know if you find the Agile Manifesto, but I have not seen it. I think it could have been done a little bit better, but here are my honest reviews in more detail. Let's go to the slides. As far as the principles go, they're not bad, but they're not fantastic. They're not earth-shattering. To me, the principles, as I alluded to earlier, pretty much sound like processes that have been expanded. What do I mean? All right, take a look. Manage team, develop team, identify stakeholders, be a diligent, respectful steward, create a collaborative project team, manage project team, effectively engage with stakeholders, manage stakeholder engagement, focus on value, close project or phase. You get what I'm saying? In my mind, there is nothing earth shattering. Is it good to know these things? Yes. Does it bring a monumental amount of value that takes you levels above the Agile manifesto? The answer is no, because all of this stuff can be found in some other context in the sixth edition and in the Agile Practice Guide. So when you're coming out with a document, it needs to have a reason, a business case. And honestly, as a lot of our colleagues have said, the business case for this might just be revenues. I hate to be so blunt and dismissive, but that's what a lot of it points back to. Because I honestly don't see earth shattering, breaking news type discoveries in the seventh edition. That is my candid, honest opinion. And I know everyone is entitled to theirs. This is mine. Now, what do I like about the PMBOK Guide 7th edition? I like the size being cut. I like the streamlining of the tools, which have been called methods. But what you're getting right now is the stuff I feel is not right with it. Okay? There's room for improvement, and that's okay. All right? This is not from, the perspective of just wanting to dismiss it. No, there's some very good things in here. And there's some things I will emphasize in future webinars. I quite like the models section, and I will be bringing you some additional information to complement that. But for now, I'm just telling you straight up, I don't think the principles add tremendous earth-shattering value. Okay, that's my perspective. All right, the next thing that I have a perspective to share with you is the domains. You take a look at the domains, and the domains are meant to replace the knowledge areas. And as you saw me go through them, I couldn't justify it. I couldn't. The Agile Manifesto is mentioned once in the 7th edition in the glossary as part of the definition of Agile. It says a term used to describe a mindset of values and principles as set forth in the Agile Manifesto. So stop saying the 7th edition is Agile. Stop it. Stop it. It's not. Does it contain some Agile terms? Yes. Can anyone who is a serious Agile aficionado say, whoa, there's some stuff here that's going to take me levels above where I am? No. No. Plain and simple. I find a lot more value as an Agile practitioner in the Agile Practice Guide. So let me make that perfectly clear. In fact, if you are an Agile practitioner, the 7th edition will leave you more confused. If I did not have my 6th edition background, I would have been confused. I would be pulling my hair out. Okay? Let's get it straight. So the domains, totally needless replacement of the knowledge areas. In fact, I would just say it's like carrying coal to Newcastle, as I've said many times. Right? It's like, I don't know, giving the ocean a cup of water to survive when it already has enough water in it. I think it was a waste of time going through this transformation of knowledge areas to domains, and waste of money. It doesn't do anything for me as a practitioner. I'm sorry, it does nothing for me. Okay. The parts that I think they got right is the value delivery system, putting a label on it, that's fine. But as far as the actual value from anything else in the earliest parts, nah. So domains, no. And again, here's a reminder of the domain, stakeholder team. So think about it. These replace knowledge areas, seriously? These? How? What's the thought process? What's the logic? Are you kidding me? This does nothing for how I practice project management, whether I'm agile, whether I'm predictive. No. Let's move on. Let's talk about the size of the 7th edition. Yes, the size, it could even be cut a little bit more, in my opinion, because it's 370 pages when you boil it down. It's still bulky. I don't know what kind of paper they're going to use, but 370 pages is not small. Okay? It's smaller than the 6th. Thank goodness. Thank goodness it's not bigger. So, in terms of size, I'll give them a plus. I would have liked it to really be 274 pages like people were raving, but it's not. There are a lot of extra pages, auxiliary pages. You add them up, you're going to get that 370 number. But I'll take that over 756 pages. Thank you. All right, let's talk about the input focus. So talking about the input focus, I'm really talking about the artifacts. I think the number of artifacts that they have mentioned is good. I'm not saying that the selection of the artifacts is spot on, but I'm just saying the size of those artifacts, I think is good. All right, and if you take a look, we got a breakdown of the commonly used artifacts. We got the project charter in there, that's good. We got the roadmap, vision statement, project brief. This is good. This input focus is good. Logs and registers, some of them are a little bit, outside the realm of straight ahead agile, but they're not bad. I like the way it's been tailored. Assumption log, backlog, change log. I don't like the way they don't at least, come on now. I know they're trying to satisfy Kanban and Scrum people, but just call it a product backlog as well. Put that word in there somewhere. All right, thank goodness the word is in there. Projects may have a product backlog. Yeah, I know because it's very Scrum tied, PMI like having their own. Yeah, that's okay. That's page 185. Risk register, stakeholder register. Page 186, we got plans, various plans. That's good. That's a tidy little sum of plans. And they've also included test plan. It's okay. Hierarchy charts, good. Baselines, that's good. Visual data and information, affinity diagram, burn up chart, burn down. You see, this is why people think it's gone agile. No, it hasn't. This is just a preference for visual data, which is very eminent in the world of agile. All right, so those are some of the things I like. I like that. So you got cause and effect diagram, CFD, cycle time chart, a lot of things. A lot. It's better than having the laundry list in the 6th edition. All right. What else? We have reports, quality report, risk report, status report, page 190, agreements and contracts. I mean, to be quite honest, everything that I've got so far, that's great. The other bits, icing on the cake. This one is one that I'll definitely give them kudos for. I like the input focus. It's not overbearing. It's not unwieldy. It should make everyone somewhat satisfied. So that's good. Let's move on. All right, framework focus. What do I mean by framework focus? I'm really talking about the models. The model, I went through the models with you. There's some things that I would have included there. I would have liked to include as one of the models, since they've discarded it entirely, the knowledge areas. I mean, what is wrong with the knowledge areas? Get over yourselves, people. What is wrong with the knowledge areas? I really, this is one I really take offense to. Why would you leave the knowledge areas out? It's diminishing your client base. Have some respect, for goodness sake, for your client base. when you take out what people have built entire PMOs and project management learning on, and you don't even reference it, that's rude, man. That's rude. That's rude. And no, I take offense, strong offense to that one. Take a look at the Agile Practice Guide. Go to page 9091. There is reference made about how this correlates. Why do you keep people hanging? So for people who are very literal and are reading through this, and then they pick up the 7th edition and they're trying to make some correlation between page 91, 92 to 95, and you don't give them any way of mapping back. You don't even mention the knowledge. What are you trying to prove? Are you just trying to be so radical in departing from mentioning knowledge areas? It's foolishness. It's foolishness and disrespect. This is what people have built an understanding on. You act as though the knowledge areas are falsehood, as if the knowledge areas are poisonous, but yet we map them back in here. Make up your mind, for goodness sake. I take strong offense to that. And let me just speak for people who are thinking like me. Okay? I know not everyone is. I know some people are like, oh, do away with the knowledge areas. Yeah, fine. But I know I'm speaking for some folks. And I'm going to show you why. I'm going to show you why before you begin asking, how do you know? There's a plethora of documentation on projectmanagement.com, people that feel the same way I am voicing. Now, let me make it perfectly clear. I have managed many projects without pointing back to knowledge areas or process groups by being agile. So the same passion I have for agile, for predictive, is even upped in my passion to be hybridized, because I believe in the best of both worlds. So when you diminish any of the worlds, I ain't smiling. I didn't like the removal of or the silence of the manifesto. Come on now, 7th edition, you can't even acknowledge the Agile manifesto? Seriously? And you have people say, oh, it's Agile. No, it's not. There's a lot of error in thinking in creating the 7th. Okay? So I last week, I had the bus party, and that was fine. And then I had the training, and then I had the 5-minute review. Yeah. You've gotten all the good, and we've had a party. Now let's be honest. Let's talk about how to make the 8th edition great again. Make the PMBOK guide great again. I feel sorry for anyone working on the 8th, because they've got a lot of yogurt and bananas, meatballs, spaghetti to clean up. I think it's a mess. But with videos like this and with people like you who can take the mangled mass of mess and extract value from it for people, some people will find the value. It's hidden. The value is really, really buried. It's really, really buried. See? So the lack of mention of the knowledge areas, except in that little map where you're showing what was before, it's just utter disrespect. I'm not happy with that. So I'm just being honest and candid with you, all right? And I said I was going to show you some of the information that's out there. So let's just go straight to it. I'm going to take you to the PMI's projectmanagement.com. And we're going to take a look at some of the colorful remarks from some of our colleagues so far. Some of our colleagues have commented on what they think about this. So just hang tight. I'm going to show you that. Here we go. Messages on PMBOK 7th edition. This was put up very recently. I'm going to put this link in the chat for anyone who cares to go read it. That's fine. Go read it. All right. So let's take a look. So one of our colleagues saw her put this out and said, you probably saw that the 7th edition of the PMBOK guide is released today. I am curious to read your feedback here. You beat me to it because I was thinking the same, Soha. So thank you for putting up this page. On my side, I just started reading, and my first impression, many good additions, including a more adaptive way of working. However, I feel it is a good continuation to the 6th edition, which I will keep referring to. Absolutely. I also had a quick look at PMI standards, but didn't find a way how to correlate the contents yet. PMI standards plus is a good addition, and you just got to work it out, you know. All right. I would appreciate reading your feedback. Well, Soha, you got a boatload of my feedback, that's for sure, right? And your feedback is part of my final analysis for a while. I like this breakout by Sergio because he doesn't mince words, and it's good to be candid, okay? It's good to be honest. Let's look at what Sergio is saying here. He says, the most unusable piece of work. Talk about being candid, huh? The most unusable piece of work I read from PMI. That is a quotable quote. I think people will not use it and will continue to use version 6. See that? Unfortunately, I lived the same situation with the IIBA time ago. Now I understand why there was not a public draft review. Ouch! What this is really telling me is there was not a public draft review because they knew it would not fly with true professionals from both sides. No. I like that response. All right, let's go to another response here from one of our esteemed colleagues, Kyron, and you might recognize these photos if you have been on projectmanagement.com. These are esteemed colleagues, and it's good to weigh in to the overall picture. So Kyron says, the principles orientation is a welcome shift for me. The process-centric approach of previous editions encouraged tailoring laziness. And that's true. A lot of people think, oh, so there are two sides to it. Some people take a look at the tailoring aspect and say, I don't need to tailor anything. I have 49 things to do. Woo, let's move. No, that's a bad mindset. And that's what Karen is saying here. It did encourage laziness because people did not understand the concept of tailoring up front, unfortunately. But he says, whereas the current approach puts tailoring front and foremost. That is true. The mention of tailoring right up front, right there in the forefront as one of the chapters is very important. And like Kyron, I was one of those teams who voiced certain things, and there were some things that were done, he said, and others that were not. That is true. All right, let's move back to what Sergio says here. Sergio says, to exchange comments, let me say I have no problem with the orientation being principles based. In fact, the certification exam content outline document, which is a basement for creating certification exam questions, is domain oriented. And Sergio says, I was part of the preliminary version of the standard, but as far as I know, the guide was not for public review. Let's bring this to the surface. Okay, let's bring this to the surface. The guide was not for public review. So you've heard me say time and time again, I cannot stand what PMI did in that they did not engage as stakeholders. They just went into the basement with a bunch of people and decided to come out like Moses with the tablets. No. No. When I read this guide version in a first sight, I found a mess because some of the things in the old version were still there, so there's not a clear orientation. Thank you, Sergio. But what is sad, what it was sad for me with this version, I think people that perform project management outside the software domain is discriminated. I think the PMI is trying to make the compatible make compatible the PMBOK guide with Discipline Agile way of working and principles. But unfortunately, it has not been achieved. Thank you for saying that, because those are my thoughts exactly. If the intention of the PMI is that make both compatible, I think the PMI must think outside the software domain and take the advantage and power of DA, which is something that can be used without problems outside the software domain. There you have it. Very, very good stuff. All right. We have some additional esteemed colleagues of ours who have left opinions here. Rami, one of our colleagues, says, in some way, I do agree with my fellow colleagues. Some parts feel like a welcome change for me, such as principles, while others I feel neutral about them. Overall, I find 6th edition of the PMBOK much more well-structured and comprehensive than the 7th edition. Thank you very much. Very, very well said. All right, let's move on. And let's go to what Thomas has said. Thomas says, I still have to read the new edition, cannot compare contents at this time. Yes. My current concern is that PMP applicants will need to consider not only the 6th edition, but the 7th edition. You're right, Thomas, absolutely. A little bit confusing. Some better communication from PMI would help. Yeah. I'm looking forward how upcoming changes to the PM or change maker profession will be covered. Look out for AI inclusion, leadership, really complex project. Yeah. Yep. Okay. Let's take a look at Thomas's statement here, which I totally agree with. Let's zoom into that statement. Thomas says, there were many experienced volunteers involved. Only a few of them were influential, though. See that? Now, if we talk about the Agile values and principles, that in and of itself is just wrong right there. See, it's wrong. Everyone should be able to have a voice, consensus. And we say that this is a project run by the Project Management Institute. It's just wrong. Just wrong. Anyway, so now you can see not only is this crazy lunatic Phil one of the people who has mixed feelings about this guide, right? Many other people have mixed feelings about it as well. Okay, let's move on. The tools and techniques focus, I think, is appropriate. I think it was well tailored. And the artifacts focus, again, I think it was well tailored. I think it's good. I think it's good. But in my mind, the errors outweigh the good. I pretty much subscribe to what our esteemed colleague Sergio said in the very beginning in the review that I showed you. Let's go to some of the top of the waves. The most unusable piece of work. That is a very strong statement, but it's also a very true statement for many of us. I think people will not use it and will continue to use version 6. Think about that. Now I understand why there was not a public draft review. Those are my comments. Those are my reviews. Those are other colleagues of ours commenting, such as Sergio. I really hope those of you that think differently will step up to the plate and comment, just like other people have. Don't keep your opinions to yourself. It is important that you share your opinions and share ideas of how this 7th edition can be used. Share ideas about how you perceive it, whether it's great value or whether it's not. That is how you can move the profession forward. I feel it is our professional and ethical responsibility to be candid. Don't hide your opinions. Even if you just got certified an hour ago, you still have an opinion. Even if you're not certified, you still have an opinion and your voice should be heard. I don't know how this makes you feel as someone getting ready for the PMP exam. I don't know how this makes you feel as someone who got certified yesterday. I would like to know. All right. So I want you to leave some comments, leave your ideas, leave your perspective. Okay. Thank you very much. Remember, if there's anything you want me to talk about relating to the seventh, just drop a comment on the channel. I'll be happy to do that. Okay. Thank you all very much. Any questions before we round this up? Questions, comments, concerns are always welcome.